Having experienced what I did in that place, my wife declines to go to her parents' anniversary celebration without me. Should I let her skip it? Or should I try to persuade her to go even though I can't? I have a very strong reason to avoid going back, which my in-laws not only know, but they've comforted me over these reasons, especially on my wedding day. Yet they're still angry I won't suck it up for one night. Background: I, 27 male, was born because my father and mother had an affair. My father was married and came from a well-known and wealthier family, and my mother worked for him and his wife. She died 2 days after my birth. My father's wife knew about the affair and the fact that I was his son. They had 3 daughters together between tween and pre-tween years old. Apparently my father wanted to keep me at first, but his wife and daughters refused to have me in their home. His wife felt I should have been left to die with my mother. They didn't want to end their marriage and make the affair or my existence as his son public, so he instead chose to give me to family members of his. This made for a terrible childhood for me. My father's wife did not want to see me, and neither did their daughters. So any family member who had me gave me up within a few weeks or months because they didn't want to lose out on seeing them. Despite how strongly they felt, I did see them a few times throughout my childhood, and it was made very clear I was disgusting and vile. I was told I should never have been born, and my father's wife told me she was glad my mother had died and I should have died alongside her. Their daughters told me not to speak to them, and accused me of ruining their family. I didn't get a home for the first 2 decades. I was kicked out at nearly adult for good by the last relative and left to fend for myself. I ended up with a job where I currently live, which was close by, and sometimes I regret staying so close. I was lucky to find 2 great people who hired me, and I still work for them, but they helped me gain skills to earn more. I met my wife here and told her my history. Then when I got close to her family and built up enough trust in them, I knew they were curious, so I told them everything. So when my wife found out where they'd chosen, she was also upset with them. She asked why they'd put me through that, and they told me it was bigger and cheaper than the options they had in this town. I told them I couldn't go, and they told me I could and should be there. I told them I wouldn't risk running into any of those people again, and it's a small enough town that it would be difficult to imagine I could avoid them. My wife then told them she wasn't going either. My in-laws accused me of allowing so dumb, my wife makes her own choices, my wife to skip also, and they said the 2 of us should be there, and I'm being selfish. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Your in-laws need to understand that you have a valid reason for not wanting to attend, and it's not about allowing your wife to skip out. It's more like you're protecting your mental health from a horror movie set in your childhood. If they can't grasp that, maybe they should have a party about understanding boundaries. You are the idiot. It's a private event, right? OP would park, walk into the private event, then return to his car and go home. He's not going to this town. He's going to one room of one building that's hosting a private event. I don't see the problem. I generally feel for OP's plight, but I can't see the problem with this specific instance. Anything can trigger bad memories. It's like they're trying to re-traumatize you or something. I'm glad your wife is defending you. Just out of curiosity, what are the inheritance laws where you live? Because I would be consulting an attorney and make sure it's an extremely aggressive one. Your wife sounds like a jewel. She has your back. I wish you could use the event as a way to publicly serve the crappy wealthy family their papers. I'm so sorry that you've had this experience growing up, for the loss of your mother and the horrible treatments at the hands of your biological family. Nah, OP better just wait. Add a Google alert on his phone for dad's name. When he dies, OP contests the will. They gotta stay quiet until then, or they can exclude him with estate planning. If they forget and he's just not mentioned, OP can more easily contest the will depending on state law. As a child of the father, it doesn't make any difference which mother gave birth. OP, check your dad's name is on your birth certificate. My brother and his wife Laura, who's 7 months pregnant, have been staying with us for a week since he's interviewing for jobs in the city where my family and I live. My kids love having their aunt and uncle around, and everything's been great. Yesterday Laura went out and came back with groceries. I thanked her but told her that we don't expect them to do this. The kitchen is stocked and we're just enjoying having them. She said that she wanted to, and that most were cravings she's been having. I started helping her to unload the bags and noticed that a lot of snacks were with peanuts, cookies, crackers, peanut butter, even some sort of cake fusion. It all made me uneasy because she knows my oldest son, pre-tween male, is extremely allergic. I don't keep anything of the kind in our home because we've had an incident when he was younger where we almost lost him. I didn't want to be rude, but I told her I was uncomfortable with having stuff in the house. She told me that she would be careful, that she wouldn't eat it around him or his siblings, that she'd clean up after herself, that she was having intense cravings and needed them. Look, I've had 4 kids and kind of get where she's coming from, although I never had to have something. Every woman is different. I made sure my son knew not to touch any of it, and to leave her alone when she was eating them. That was that. Today I woke up early to make breakfast and opened the fridge only to be greeted by strawberries dipped in peanut butter, and left out without a container to chill. The peanut butter jar wasn't sealed properly next to them, and they were on a plate because she likes the bread cold and soggy. I was angry. I'd read enough about airborne contamination to know that you can't really determine it, but I wasn't risking it. I grabbed a bag and started throwing everything in it, including our groceries and hers. I didn't care. I was going to take the bag, drive to a shelter, and let them know about the situation. Laura woke up while I was on my rampage, came down and asked all upset what I was doing. I was snippy with her and didn't try to hide it. We got into an argument with her defensively, saying that I can't do this, that the baby needs it, and that it's cruel to put a pregnant woman through unsatisfied cravings. I told her bluntly that I don't give a damn. If she can't keep her word, then I won't either, and that she'll live without her craving. My son can't say the same with his allergy. She went back upstairs, packed her bag, came back down, grabbed the bag of food and left in a huff. My brother was at his interview, and called me a half hour later to ask me what happened. He was upset with his wife and with me because nothing had happened, but at the end of the day my son was fine. I told my husband when he came back from work that he was completely on my side. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Nothing happened and your son is fine, because you made sure that would be the case. The only thing I can possibly think you might have done to be even more in the right was to make sure your sister-in-law knew about the severity of the allergy and that even skin contact with residue that isn't visible could be enough to set him off. But that really isn't necessary with anyone who is remotely reasonable, because everyone under 40 has been taught that sort of thing about peanut allergies. But don't you know it's cruel not to let a pregnant lady have her craving? It could severely harm her and her fetus if she can't scarf down peanut products for a whole week. Sometimes the entitlement is just ridiculous. I went to school with people with severe peanut allergies from the age of 4, and understood I couldn't have anything with peanuts around them. My sister-in-law is old enough to understand but doesn't care. Honestly, I hate but baby wants, baby needs in situations where the person, the pregnant lady, is the idiot. No, your unborn baby does not need strawberries dipped in peanut butter or cold soggy peanut butter sandwiches. It's something you want. Baby is perfectly fine with whatever you eat as long as you get the nutrition etc. you and your baby need. And it's not cruel to say you can't eat that in my house just because you crave it. There are no human rights people who come running, because a pregnant woman has to be without her craving for a few days. But it will be an issue to contaminate food and possibly hurt a child. People really need to tone down the me. Yesterday my wife and I were relaxing and watching TV. My wife suddenly said that she wanted a divorce and started laughing hysterically. She was pretty intoxicated. She drinks. I do not. I was shocked when she suddenly asked me for a divorce. I've been with her for the past 6 years. All this time we spent together, but she never asked me something so absurd. I got angry and said, "Sure, doors that way. Send me papers but make it fair." She stopped laughing and got sad. I'm used to her sarcastic questions about whether I would do something like this or that for her, or absurdities like if I would jump off the hill for her, etc. Still, I never saw this coming my way. By this time she got sad and angry and became serious and asked me if I was for real. I said, "Sure I am. You want to leave me? Then leave. I can't stop you, or do you want me to physically stop you?" She got very angry and started crying and said that I wouldn't even fight a little to save our marriage, and just agreed to divorce without reacting. She asked me if I'd stop loving her. I told her I love her, but I won't stop or beg you if you want to leave me. My wife got very angry and slapped my chest and said, "Bad husband." I tried to stop her and ask her to talk to me, but she didn't listen to me. She's been ignoring me since yesterday. Today I went to talk to her and she said I need to become a better man and husband and fight for my wife instead of just agreeing to divorce like a heartless pig, and until I work on myself she will not talk to me, and she's been ignoring me. She gave me food and sat next to me, but whenever I tried to talk to her she didn't reply. I considered apologizing but also felt like I didn't need to apologize because I didn't do anything wrong. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Your wife's joke crossed the line, and it's unfair for her to expect you to beg and plead for her to stay after a cruel and intoxicated comment. Marriage takes mutual affect and respect, and it seems like your wife needs to work on those things instead of expecting you to constantly prove your love for her. Stand your ground and have a serious conversation about boundaries and communication in your relationship. Plus, let's be real, who jokes about divorce while intoxicated? That's not funny or acceptable. Exactly, he has every right to feel this way. She asked a hurtful question, and then didn't like the answer she received. She needs to grow up. If she can't control her drinking or her mouth, then perhaps you all really are not compatible. You did nothing wrong. She literally found out. You need to be a better wife and not make a joke out of ending our marriage. I, 24 female, went on a date with a guy 26. I met through a mutual friend about a year ago. We're both in college graduate programs, and he seemed nice enough when we were texting then, so I agreed to meet up for dinner. When we got to the restaurant the vibe immediately fell off. I'd been there before and loved it, but something about how he insisted on doing all of these gentlemanly things threw me off. He kept mentioning how much the place cost and suggested ordering a bottle of wine. I told him I don't drink because I'm not into alcohol, I never have been, but he pushed me to loosen up. I stood my ground and just ordered water. As the night went on he got more frustrated. He kept making jokes about me being a buzzkill and how it wasn't fun without alcohol. We ordered, he got a sirloin and I got a New York strip. By the end of the meal I decided to pay for my own food because I didn't want him to feel like I owed him anything. especially after all the pressure. Especially because I knew my bill would be higher because my steak was much larger. When the waitress came back, I asked for separate checks. He looked visibly angry and asked why I didn't let him be a gentleman. I explained that I didn't feel comfortable letting him pay and I thought it was fair since I chose what I ate. After dinner he texted me, saying I was rude for not accepting his offer to pay and that I acted super cold by not having a drink with him. I blocked his number that day. I've since never spoken to him again, but I went out to that same steakhouse with my current boyfriend, 28 of 6 months, whom I happily let pay for everything and he made me feel like a queen all night. He still does every day. He had a couple martinis but never pressured me to drink. He opened the door for me and pulled out my chair. All things that the person I'd been on one date with did. I only thought about it because we had the same waitress as I had on the first date. I'm wondering if this double standard makes me an idiot because I feel like one. Not the idiot. You're perfectly entitled to pay your own way and not drink on a first date. His reaction was a major red flag, and the fact that he kept mentioning how much the place cost. It's certainly not a gentleman trait, and it's very possible he wanted to make you feel obligated. Exactly. That's manipulative behavior, not chivalry. You deserve someone who respects your choices. Honey, it's not a double standard. One guy was a creep and one wasn't. Good for you for having a solid game plan for your first date and sticking to it. Rather than feeling like an idiot, you should really be proud of yourself. There is infinitely more that goes into a good first date than pulling out a chair and paying for dinner. Making you comfortable enough to accept him paying for the meal and being graceful when things don't go according to plan are all part of the dance. You are really doing the second guy dirty by comparing him to the first, if anything. 30F, am a work-from-home mom with 2 children, a son pre-tween and a baby daughter. We also have 3 dogs. I recently got married to my husband, 34 male. My youngest is ours, and my son is from a different relationship. Recently we built our house and I walk our dogs on leashes multiple times a day because we haven't had a fence installed yet. I also take care of our younger toddler while I work. My son is in 2 sports, which keeps us busy. Yesterday my husband mentioned that I needed to clean our dog's ears, so I said, "Why can't you do it?" He said, "I'm going to say this once and I mean it. You are home all day." I should mention that this is his dog that he got before me and I do all of the other chores for all 3 of our dogs. Rumors, vet, feed and take them out even when he's home. I was angry and he walked away. Well, this morning I was still angry and he asked if I was still angry. Because he didn't say anything crazy, and he thinks there's a lot more I can do during the day. Mind you, I work a full-time corporate job from home with our toddler. He said I can make time for the things I want to do instead of the things he needs. I should also mention that I clean, cook, shop and run my son to sports and his dad. He only takes responsibility for pulling weeds out the yard. We have a lawn company that mows. He's supposed to take the trash to the curb but he's forgotten it so many times. I also pack his lunches and do all of his laundry. I'm at my wit's end and so stressed out. He can tell I'm frustrated with his lack of help, and this has just sent me over the edge. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot? Just because you work from home it doesn't mean to say that you aren't working. That was a crappy thing to say. Create a chore list of all the things that you do and the things that he does. Give it to him and ask how it's fair that you work full time and do all of these. What is he offering in the household? Explain to him that you don't want and won't live like this. It's time for him to take responsibility and be an equal partner. Be firm and don't back down. If this doesn't work, stop doing anything for him and only take care of yourself, your kids and your pets. Let him see if he likes it then. I'm impressed she's able to balance a toddler, chores and work. On my work from home days, sometimes calls, meetings and messages with teams on the phone or emails, and things are just coming at me from everywhere. There have been days where I live off coffee till 5 p.m. or I'll have 15 minutes between meetings to eat or shower etc. He is so insulting and belittling. I think in his mind she's not a work-from-home mom but a stay-at-home mom. Hope he sit him down and tell him his free ride is over. Right now you are a single mom to 3 kids. If he can't put his weight, take that number down to 2.